for the last time, kind of go around the country right quick, some of the last whispers and intel that we're hearing before the season starts. And I wanted to start in Texas A&M. We got the announcement we thought we were going to get about quarterback. Haynes King is the starter there. But Zach Calzada is the backup. Zach Calzada is a guy that if they do have to go to their backup for any reason, I think is more than serviceable. I think they feel fine about him. It's just when it comes to intangibles, Haynes King had him. He was not going to be a guy. He was going to be a guy that Calzada had to definitively overtake, and I don't think that ever happened. So both really good kids, though. Both really good players. But you talk to people close to the A&M program, and they're quick to tell you they have worked the vertical passing game. They have thrown the ball deep this fall more so than they have under Jimbo at any point since they've been there. I don't know what that means. I don't know what to make of that. I do know Jimbo Fisher has to look across the ball, and he has to see what Mike Elko's defense can do, and he has to know we've got a bail-me-out defense. And so we cannot beat Alabama playing the kind of offense we've been playing. That much is sure. That much is certain. So if the answer in Jimbo Fisher's mind is we got to take some more chances, I may be uncomfortable with it, but to beat the team we got to beat in Tuscaloosa, we got to take more chances because no one cares if we go 10-2, 11-1 if we don't beat that team. So we got to beat them. We got them in our building. We were never going to have a more favorable environment. We got to beat them. To do it, we got to push the ball down the field. And it's comforting, even amid all that risk, to know if we turn the ball over, we got a defense. Hadn't always been able to say that at Texas A&M. More so the last 2 or 3 years they have. That's one of the quietest major stories in college football is the emergence of the Texas A&M defense. It's one of the best in the country now. And we weren't saying that under Kevin Sumlin. How about Texas? I remain enthralled by this quarterback battle. I mean, it's still not settled. Some people would lead you to believe it is, though. And I'm not so sure I don't agree with them, but you really know why I'm smiling. When we talk about Texas quarterbacks, that means imminent in the discussion is one of those good old-fashioned Chip Brown, Horns, 24/7 insider reports. You might as well turn the lights down, light up a cigarette, and I don't even smoke, play some soft, corny jazz music in the background, but you got to set the mood for a Chip Brown practice report. But here's what's happening. Hudson Card, Casey Thompson, the dynamic has shifted a little bit. It was Casey Thompson in the lead going into this thing. Hudson Card now coming out of that second scrimmage, taking a majority of the 1 QB reps, but there's been no announcement made. And with that, I read you just a few snippets from Chip Brown's premium article over on Horns 24/7. Sources telling him Steve Sarkisian has not spoken with the quarterbacks yet about who's going to start, but, and this is where it gets real juicy, so I need you to put a bib on. There is a real possibility that Thompson would pack up and leave if Hudson Card is named the starter. This has long been a fear and a suspicion that has been whispered about all the Texas fan base. And now it looks like some of those whispers have a lot of validity to them because Casey Thompson is looking at what he did in the Alamo Bowl. He probably doesn't feel he's lost the job in fall camp. And so sources tell Chip Brown, Horns 24/7, Steve Sarkisian is aware of that possibility and that, quote, he is concerned about that possibility. Oh, by the way, multiple sources saying the third quarterback there isn't anywhere close to being ready for game action if he does indeed become the backup. So what do? Well, the answer is really hard and it's really simple. You play the best guy. You put the guy on the field that gives you the best chance to win. If it causes a transfer, so be it. And if 2 games into the season you have, God forbid, a major injury, so be it. What you can't do is you can't get scared about the potential of a kid transferring and play the second best option and then live with those consequences. Because then you lose the respect of your locker room. You may lose the respect of your coaching staff. And as we have noted several times here, Steve Sarkisian is not a 15-year veteran. He is not Nick Saban. He does not walk through with the cachet of a head coach that is established. He is trying to establish himself. You got to make hard decisions. That's why they pay you what they pay you. That's why you get your name on every marquee. Hudson Card, I think, is going to be the starter here. We'll be fascinated to see if it means indeed a transfer. What about Florida? Because quarterback is worth watching at Florida too. You may think, if you're not a Gator fan, did Emory Jones get hurt? No, he did not get hurt. But Emory Jones is who he is. There are a lot of good qualities about Emory Jones, but he is not a guy who is going to light the world on fire through the air. He's just not. Anyone who expects that is setting themselves up to be disappointed. Now, most people around Florida don't believe that. But I have a little internal dynamic here that is a dilemma because Anthony Richardson, the more you talk to people close to the Florida program, is the one they want to talk about. That's not the first time in the history of God's creation that people want to talk about the backup quarterback. But Anthony Richardson is a tank physically, and Anthony Richardson has also got a lot of physical qualities that are probably best in that quarterback room. Anthony Richardson will be the first to tell you the mental side of the game he's still evolving in. I mean, if you go by his quotes, he's got like the perfect attitude for a backup quarterback. But I think there's going to come a time this year where he gets on the field in meaningful action. That's how Mullen handles his roster, really. And I want to see what happens because I have a sneaking suspicion that what's going to happen sometime in the first half of Florida's season is Emory Jones is going to struggle at some point in a game, and Dan Mullen's going to send Anthony Richardson out there for a series. And then it's game on because I think you and I both know what happens. You could have it in your mind all you want to. Let's give him a series. Well, if he goes 6 for 7 and they hot knife through butter it right down the field and they score, are you taking him off the field? If you do, what does the Swamp 24/7 message board look like? Because I can tell you they're very bent out of shape regardless because they are already having to watch the quarterback be pulled out of the game. But if you put a guy in there who gets it done and then you take him out to put the guy who was struggling back in there, then all of a sudden your entire quarterback pedigree as a head coach and as a developer of the position goes out the window. It gets folded up like a used napkin. Speaking of the pedigree, though, we are talking about Emory Jones. Everything I know about Dan Mullen is leading me instinctively to think he'll be okay because Dan Mullen gets every ounce of potential out of every quarterback he coaches. And also, Emory Jones didn't just walk in the door. He's been down there 3 years now. So whatever the absolute best out of a guy who was a former 4-star from Georgia is, Dan Mullen will get. So my instinct tells me Dan Mullen's great at this. Emory Jones will be fine. That doesn't mean he may not have a very talented option behind him, though. So just a little dynamic to watch. And lastly, bad news out of Notre Dame. And it is really bad. It's really unfortunate. So Marcus Freeman is the defensive coordinator there who has come in and lit the world on fire up there from a recruiting perspective. They love him. Everyone loves him. A lot of people hope he'll be the head coach one day. Some interesting comments from Brian Kelly on that front. Very interesting this week. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is they lost a very versatile and important player right out of the middle of that defense, the linebacker core. Maris Leafau, who I never got the pronunciation right on, but he was lost, I don't know how long for, maybe the year, at the very least a long time with a lower extremity injury. It's a big blow. They've got depth at linebacker. They're not going to have to put out walk-ons, but they don't have anyone who possesses the particular skill set that he did. And so that takes away a lot of the multiple elements of your defense, and you never know what kind of game-changing ability that guy was going to have for you that his replacement simply doesn't have. So those are some things to watch. Our last Whispers and Intel segment before the season starts. Really enjoyed that.